The grand chamber of the Galactic Council was a cathedral of cold precision, its towering arches carved from dark alloy and illuminated by faint, pulsing blue light. Hundreds of representatives from dozens of species filled the circular amphitheater, their varied forms blending into a mosaic of alien grandeur. At the center, High Arbiter Zalthor sat poised like a judge presiding over the fate of a defendant long presumed guilty. Humanity, Zalthor's voice echoed, calm yet laced with contempt. For too long, we have observed this species cling to peace and diplomacy, avoiding conflict at every turn. Their reluctance to engage in warfare is not wisdom, it is cowardice. A murmur rippled through the chamber. Some species nodded in agreement, others frowned. The humans' decades of peaceful expansion had made them an anomaly in the galaxy's harsh order, a civilization that spoke of harmony yet lacked the strength the Council deemed essential. The Earth Federation's recent deployments near the Cthari border, Zalthor continued, are mere posturing, smoke to hide their true nature, fearful, hesitant, incapable of true defense. From the human delegation, Ambassador Layla Moreno rose, her posture firm. High Arbiter, with respect, humanity's restraint is deliberate. We understand the costs of war, but we do not lack courage. Zalthor's eyes narrowed, a sharp alien gesture of disdain. Courage does not demand surrender. Your species' reluctance endangers your colonies and invites aggression. Ambassador Moreno's gaze did not waver. Underestimating humans has always been a mistake. Before Zalthor could respond, another council member, an insected diplomat from the Vraxis system, interjected. This talk of weakness endangers galactic stability. I support the High Arbiter's motion to impose restrictions on human expansion until they demonstrate strength. The chamber's atmosphere tightened like a drawn bowstring. The final decision was clear. The Council would impose a blockade on human colonies near contested systems, limiting their military deployments and pressuring Earth to submit. The verdict was swift and merciless. Back on Earth, the mood was somber but resolute. Commander Arya Callan stood on the bridge of the stealth cruiser Vigilant, gazing at the hollow map projecting the contested star systems. Her jaw was clenched, the weight of command heavy on her shoulders. We've been written off, she muttered, voice low but fierce. Declared cowards before a single shot's been fired. Her second-in-command, Lieutenant Malik, stepped forward. The Council underestimates us, Commander. They don't know what humans are capable of. Arya nodded. They think we'll back down. They think we fear conflict. They don't understand, we never have. The Vigilance sensors pinged softly. A message flashed from Earth Command. Prepare for heightened security measures. Expect Council patrols near the colonies. Rules of engagement remain strict. Avoid provocation. Arya's eyes narrowed. Avoid provocation? How do you avoid provocation when the enemy's at your doorstep? Her crew worked efficiently, tension humming beneath their practiced motions. Despite the political pressure, Arya saw in them the spark that refused to be extinguished. Later, in a secure communications room, Ambassador Moreno spoke with Arya via video link. The ambassador's expression was grave. The Council's blockade is not just political, it's a challenge. They want us confined, controlled, humiliated. Arya's voice was steady. Then we'll show them that humanity does not yield. Moreno sighed. It won't be easy. The Cthari are watching, ready to exploit any weakness. Arya smiled faintly. Let them watch. They'll see what they've been blind to all along. In the sprawling corridors of the Galactic Council, Zalthor convened with his closest advisors. His eyes glimmered with calculated certainty. Earth's defiance will be short-lived, he said. The blockade will strangle their supply lines. Their colonies will crumble without reinforcements. One advisor, a reptilian strategist, raised a clawed hand. Commander Arya Callan is not a leader to be underestimated. Her recent maneuvers demonstrated tactical ingenuity. Zalthor's expression darkened. Then we must tighten the noose. Let the humans cling to their illusions of strength. We will crush them when they falter. On the Vigilant, Arya addressed her crew. Her voice resonated with unwavering conviction. Today, The Council decided who they think we are. But they don't decide who we become. We've faced threats before and survived. Now, we face our greatest test. We don't just fight for survival, we fight for respect, for our home, and for the future. The crew's response was immediate, a chorus of determined affirmations. The hum of the ship seemed to grow louder, as if fueled by their resolve. As the Vigilant slipped silently through the void toward the contested borders, Aria's thoughts drifted to the future. The Council's verdict was not the end, it was the spark. They feared human conflict because they never understood human tenacity. And soon, the galaxy would learn. The border systems flickered on the Vigilant's holomap like scattered stars caught in a web of tension. Commander Aria Callan leaned forward, her eyes tracing the unstable front lines where human colonies met Kthari territory. Every blip on the screen was a potential flashpoint, a fragile piece ready to shatter. Lieutenant Malik approached, his voice low but steady. Sensors picked up Kthari patrols moving closer to the Vesta colony. Their ships are faster and more aggressive than before. Arya didn't flinch. They're testing us. Trying to find a weakness. Malik nodded. If we don't respond carefully, the situation could spiral. Arya tapped a sequence on the console. Then we control the spiral. Let's show them we're not backing down. Days earlier, on Vesta, the colony buzzed with routine activity. Settlers worked fields and maintained infrastructure, unaware of the looming threat. The Kthari forces, sleek and ominous, prowled the perimeters like silent predators. Their ships hovered just beyond sensor range, sending coded signals back to their command. Dr. Lena Harper, the colony's lead engineer, glanced nervously at the horizon from the observation tower. Something's different this time, she confided to Captain Rios, the colony's security chief. The Kthari aren't just scouting, they're preparing. Rios grimaced. Orders from Earth Command are clear, avoid engagement unless attacked. But if they strike first, we defend. Lena's voice was barely a whisper. I fear that day is coming soon. Back on the Vigilant, Arya gathered her senior officers in the briefing room. The atmosphere was tense but focused. Data streams flickered as tactical displays updated in real time. We're on the edge, Arya began. The Kthari are probing our defenses. They want to see how far they can push. Navigator Chen leaned forward. Our intel suggests they're testing our response times. Small strikes, hit-and-run tactics. Tactical Officer Harper interjected. If they sense hesitation, they'll escalate. Arya's eyes hardened. That's why hesitation is not an option. We need a countermeasure that's swift and decisive. Malik raised a concern. Council's rules still bind us. Provocation could trigger sanctions or worse. Arya smiled, but it was sharp and unforgiving. The Council may set rules, but we decide what's right for our survival. Harper added. We have an opportunity to outsmart them. Hit their supply convoys before they reach the colonies. Arya nodded. Prepare a reconnaissance squad. Stealth and speed will be our advantage. The reconnaissance mission was led by Lieutenant Vega, a pilot renowned for her daring and precision. The team slipped into the shadowed corridors of space, navigating asteroid fields and debris to avoid detection. The tension aboard was palpable but contained. Eyes sharp, Vega commanded through the comms. We get in, disrupt their supply lines, and get out. No unnecessary risks. The team moved like ghosts, weaving between Kthari patrols with calculated stealth. Vega's heart pounded, but her focus never wavered. Suddenly, a distant explosion lit the void, a Kthari freighter hit. Vega's voice was steady. Target acquired. Launching precision strikes. Meanwhile, aboard the Vigilant, Arya monitored every move. Reports streamed in. Kthari supply ships were caught off guard, several destroyed or disabled. The operation was a success, but not without cost. One recon pilot sustained damage but returned safely. Good work, Arya said quietly. This sends a message, they're not invincible. The Kthari command, however, was far from deterred. Admiral Kirax, their ruthless leader, convened with his war council on their flagship, the Dagger. His scaled face twisted in anger. Earth's defiance grows, Kirax hissed. Their strikes are bold, but reckless. His strategist, a sharp-eyed alien named Jertal, warned. We must crush this rebellion quickly. Prolonged conflict favors the humans' adaptability. Kirax's claws clenched. Then we bring the fight to their doorstep. Target the Vesta colony. Break their spirit. Back at Vesta, the colonists felt the tension tighten like a noose. Captain Rios coordinated defenses, preparing his team for the inevitable. Dr. Harper worked feverishly, reinforcing power grids and life support. If they attack, we have to be ready to hold. A young technician approached, breathless. Sensors detect multiple Kthari warships entering system. Rios's jaw tightened. Battle stations. This is the moment. The attack began without warning. Kthari fighters swarmed the colony's orbital defenses, their plasma weapons cutting through shields and sending debris spiraling into space. Below, panic surged among the settlers as alarms blared. From the Vigilant, Arya watched the assault unfold on tactical displays. They want to scare us into submission, she said, voice hard. They'll learn we don't break that easily. Malik prepared the ship for engagement, requesting permission to intervene. Arya's response was immediate. Granted. We won't let Vesta fall. The Vigilant surged forward, cloaking devices disengaging as it accelerated into battle formation. Laser turrets flared, exchanging fire with Kthari fighters. The humans' agility and tactics threw the enemy off balance. In the heat of combat, Arya's voice commanded over the roar. Flank their carriers. Disrupt their strike force. Protect the colony at all costs. Amid the chaos, Lieutenant Vega's reconnaissance team rejoined, sharing critical intel. Kthari supply lines are vulnerable. If we cut them off, their assault will falter. Arya seized the moment. Then that's our next move? As the skirmish dragged on, the Council's official broadcasts droned in, warning Earth forces to stand down and respect the blockade. Zalthor's voice rang with cold authority. Humans, cease all hostilities. Your defiance endangers peace. Arya's eyes flashed with defiance. Peace built on fear and submission isn't peace. It's chains. When the dust settled, the Kthari withdrew, their forces battered but unbroken. Vesta was scarred, but the colonists survived. Arya gathered her officers. This fight is far from over. But today, we proved we can stand our ground. Malik smiled grimly. And the Council? They'll have to rethink their judgment. Arya's gaze turned to the distant stars. Let them watch. Humanity is waking. The Vigilant drifted in the shadow of the asteroid belt, a silent predator waiting. Commander Arya Callan sat in the dim briefing room, the glow of tactical displays reflecting in her sharp eyes. Around her, the senior officers gathered, tension threading through the room like static. We've delayed their advance, Arya began, voice steady. But the Kthari won't stop. Their supply lines remain the lifeblood of their offensive. Disrupting them is the only way to halt their momentum. Tactical Officer Harper leaned forward. We've identified a key command station deep within the Kthari-controlled zone. Disabling it will cause chaos among their ranks. Navigator Chen studied the star charts. It's heavily fortified and surrounded by patrols. The approach is narrow and unpredictable. Arya's gaze hardened. That makes it perfect for a covert strike. We take them by surprise before they can regroup. Lieutenant Malik raised a concern. The Council will see this as open rebellion. We'll have no political cover. Arya met his eyes. Our survival trumps politics. They doubt our resolve. Let's give them a reason to reconsider. A stealth team was assembled, led by Lieutenant Vega, whose cool precision had become legendary. The plan was straightforward yet perilous: infiltrate, disable the command station, and escape before reinforcements could respond. Remember, Arya instructed during the pre-mission briefing. Our advantage lies in speed and stealth. No unnecessary risks. Success depends on precision. Vega nodded. Understood, Commander. We'll hit hard, then vanish. As the Vigilant approached the strike zone, The crew moved with quiet efficiency. The ship's cloaking fields hummed, folding into the darkness. Outside, distant stars glittered coldly. Inside the strike pod, Vega's team checked their equipment. The tension was palpable but restrained. Pilot Reyes glanced over his shoulder. "This is the quiet before the storm. Everyone ready?" A chorus of affirmations followed. Vega's voice was calm. "Let's remind them humans are not easy prey." The descent was precise. Navigating through debris fields and hidden asteroid clusters, the team slipped past Kthari patrols undetected. Vega's fingers danced over controls, every maneuver deliberate. Suddenly, a faint blip registered on their sensors, a Kthari interceptor closing fast. "Contact!" Reyes warned. Vega's voice clipped. "Evasive maneuvers. Prepare for combat." The pod lurched as plasma bolts zipped past. Vega fired back with precision, disabling the interceptor's engines. "We're clear," she breathed. "Onward." The command station loomed ahead, a fortress of dark steel, pulsating with energy. Vega's team deployed silently, infiltrating ventilation shafts and security corridors. Every step was measured, every breath controlled. Inside, they planted charges at critical points: communication arrays, power conduits, weapon emplacements. Time was their enemy. "Charges set," whispered Vega. "Retreat route secure?" Reyes confirmed. "Clear. But patrols increasing." Just as they prepared to exit, alarms blared. The Kthari had detected the breach. The corridors flooded with hostile forces. Vega's team took defensive positions, firing in tight bursts, holding the line as the charges counted down. 10 seconds, Reyes announced. The blast rocked the station, shattering windows and disabling systems. Panic rippled through the Kthari ranks. "Exfiltrate!" Vega ordered. They raced back through labyrinthine passages, dodging enemy fire. Reyes piloted the pod to a rapid extraction point, engines screaming as they escaped the chaos. Back on the Vigilant, the crew erupted in quiet celebration. The command station was crippled, the Kthari communications were in disarray. Aria's eyes burned with pride. "This is the turning point. We've shown them we're not just pawns to be pushed around." Meanwhile, on the Kthari flagship, the Dagger, High Commander Kirax paced furiously. "Earth's forces grow bolder. This defiance threatens our control." Zhertal's gaze was sharp. "Their tactics are unorthodox, but effective. We must anticipate their next move." Kirax's voice was low and deadly. "Then we strike where it hurts." The Council's patience is wearing thin. At the Galactic Council, High Arbiter Zalthor convened an emergency session. His expression was a mask of icy calm. "The humans have crossed a line," Zalthor declared. "Their insubordination jeopardizes galactic order." Ambassador Moreno, representing Earth, stood her ground. "We seek only to protect our people and sovereignty." Zalthor's eyes narrowed. "Protection does not justify rebellion. The Council will impose sanctions if hostilities continue." Moreno's voice was resolute. "Humanity will not be shackled by fear or prejudice." On the Vigilant, Arya gathered her officers once more. "The Council's threats mean little if we lose our home. Our actions speak louder than words." Malik nodded. "They'll try to isolate us politically. We must prepare for a long fight." Arya's resolve was unwavering. "Then we fight smart. We fight hard. And we make sure the galaxy remembers humanity." As stars blazed coldly outside the viewport, the Vigilant ready for the battles to come. Commander Arya Callan knew the path ahead was perilous, but the fire inside her crew burned fierce. They would not be underestimated again. The cold void ahead held a storm. Commander Arya Callan stood on the bridge of the Vigilant, her eyes locked on the tactical displays showing the Kthari assault fleet massing near the frontier. The enemy's numbers dwarfed their own, but Arya saw opportunity beneath that overwhelming weight. "Status report," she demanded. Lieutenant Malik's voice cut through the tension. "Kthari have deployed 2 battlecruisers with escort frigates. They're preparing to launch a coordinated strike on Earth's outer colonies." Arya's jaw tightened. And our fleet? Fewer than half their strength, but better trained and more adaptable. Good. Adaptability will be our weapon. She turned to her tactical officer, Harper. What's our advantage? Harper tapped rapidly on her console. They rely heavily on formation tactics and brute force. Their ships are powerful but less flexible. We've developed new hit-and-run algorithms to exploit their predictability. Arya nodded. Then that's what we do, strike fast, vanish, and keep them off balance. The Vigilant slipped into position at the edge of the contested system. Cloaking fields enveloped the ship, making it nearly invisible to enemy sensors. The crew worked with quiet precision, knowing the coming hours would test their limits. In the ready room, Vega led the strike squad briefing. Our mission is to disrupt their command vessels. Without leadership, their fleet will lose coordination. Pilot Reyes added. We'll use diversion tactics to draw escorts away. Then the strike team hits the vulnerable points. Arya's voice echoed in the room as she joined them. This isn't just a battle. It's a statement. Humanity refuses to be cornered. The battle erupted with sudden ferocity. Plasma blasts lit the blackness, and the Vigilant darted through enemy formations like a wraith. The strike squad moved with deadly precision, slamming the command vessels with laser strikes and electronic warfare. Command vessel down, Vega reported, breathless but steady. Escorts are regrouping. Arya's voice was calm but urgent. Keep the pressure. Don't let them recover. The Kthari scrambled to respond, but their rigid formations cracked under the relentless human assault. The Vigilant exploited gaps, weaving through firestorms and debris. Inside the chaos, individual acts of heroism shone. Engineer Lucas worked tirelessly to reroute power to damaged shields, sweat streaming down his face. We're holding, but just barely. Lieutenant Malik coordinated fighter squadrons, directing cover where it was needed most. Stay sharp, people. They'll come back with everything they've got. Amidst the fighting, Arya's calm crackled with an urgent message. Commander, the Council has dispatched a peace envoy demanding ceasefire. They threaten severe sanctions if hostilities continue. Arya's lips pressed into a thin line. Tell them humanity's fight is not negotiable. We don't yield. The battle raged for hours. The Kthari fleet faltered as command systems failed, morale broke, and their once imposing numbers thinned. The Vigilant led the assault with relentless determination. Finally, the enemy began retreating, their ships limping away, defeated but defiant. Arya allowed herself a rare moment of relief. We've turned the tide today. But the war is far from over. Back on the Council station, Zalthor's facade of control cracked. Watching the reports of the battle, his eyes darkened. Humans, they fight with reckless courage, he muttered. But courage alone won't save them. His advisor, the reptilian strategist, warned. Their tactics are unpredictable. We must adjust or face further losses. Zalthor's voice dropped. Then we adapt, and strike harder. The aftermath of the battle saw Earth's colonies fortified and morale soaring. Communications flooded with messages of gratitude and renewed hope. Arya addressed her crew, her voice carrying the weight of their shared victory and the road ahead. Today, we showed the galaxy our true strength. But this is just the beginning. We fight not just for survival, but for respect and a future where humanity stands as equals. As the stars glittered beyond the viewport, Arya allowed herself a brief smile. The Council's doubts were dissolving. Soon, the galaxy would recognize the indomitable spirit of humanity. The aftermath of battle settled over the battered colonies like a fragile dawn. Commander Arya Callan stood on the observation deck of the Vigilant, her gaze fixed on the distant twinkle of Earth's homeworld. The scars of war marked the stars, but so did the promise of a new era. Commander, Lieutenant Malik approached quietly. Our victory at the frontier has sent shockwaves through the Council. Communications from Earth Command indicate rising support among the colonies. Arya nodded. The galaxy's perception of us is shifting. No longer the timid species they dismissed. Meanwhile, on the Galactic Council's stately chamber, High Arbiter Zalthor's expression was unreadable as he convened an emergency summit. The grand amphitheater hummed with tension, voices weaving through the space like invisible currents. Humanity's defiance cannot be ignored, Zalthor declared, his voice measured but firm. Their recent victories disrupt the balance we strive to maintain. Ambassador Leila Moreno rose with calm conviction. Humanity has only claimed its right to exist and protect itself. We are no longer content with being sidelined or underestimated. A murmur rippled through the alien delegates. Some exchanged wary glances, others remained stern. Zalthor's eyes locked on Moreno. Your people risk destabilizing peace. Moreno met his gaze. Peace without justice is merely oppression. We seek recognition, not rebellion. On the Vigilant, Arya prepared for a critical diplomatic mission. The Council had agreed, under pressure, to allow a delegation from Earth to present their case formally. The stakes were immense. Prepare the ship for transit to the Council station, Arya ordered. This meeting could redefine humanity's place in the galaxy. Malik looked concerned. Zalthor will not make this easy. Arya smiled faintly. Neither will we. The Council station was as imposing as ever, its halls echoing with centuries of tradition. Arya and her team entered with quiet determination. The chamber awaited, a stage set for confrontation. High Arbiter Zalthor stood, his form rigid. Commander Callan, Ambassador Moreno, your presence here is unexpected. Arya stepped forward. We come to speak not as supplicants, but as equals. Zalthor's gaze hardened. The Council's judgment has been clear. Moreno raised a datapad, projecting images of the damaged colonies, the bravery of human forces, and messages from grateful settlers. Humanity's story is one of resilience and unity, Moreno said. We do not seek domination, only respect. The debate was intense. Zalthor challenged every point, questioning humanity's motives and capacity for peace. But the evidence was undeniable. The Council watched as humanity's courage and adaptability unfolded in vivid detail. At last, Zalthor's posture shifted, a subtle concession. Perhaps we misjudged your species. Arya's voice was steady. Underestimation has been our greatest enemy. But it ends here. Back on Earth, news of the diplomatic breakthrough sparked celebrations. Colonists and citizens alike felt the weight of history turning. At a ceremony honoring fallen heroes, Arya addressed the crowd. We fought not just against an enemy in the stars, but against doubt and fear within ourselves. Today, humanity stands taller, united and unyielding. As the Vigilant prepared to return home, Arya looked out once more at the endless expanse. We've earned our place, she whispered. Not through submission, but through strength, the strength of our spirit. The stars ahead shimmered with possibility. The dawn had arrived.